Willkommen beim Nerds of Law Podcast. Die Nerds of Law, das sind Katharina Bisset und Michael Lanzinger. Wir präsentieren euch Neuigkeiten zu Recht und Technik, spannende Interviews sowie Tipps und Tricks generell zur geekigen Seite des Rechts. Denn vergesst nie, Law is the ultimate science.
Nerds of Law, Episode 127, Pioneer Penguins, with Shaun Jardine. Dear listeners, welcome to yet another English episode. So there have been more and more this year as promised. And today, because I can't be the only person in the room dooming the billable hour, we brought Shaun in. Shaun wrote the book on it, and well, obviously if you're into that topic and if you're into the topic of value pricing, you can't get past him. But I think, dear Shaun, introduce yourself to our listeners. Tell them what's your background and how you got into value pricing.
Oh, well, thank you. Firstly, thank you for having me, Katharina and Michael. I really do appreciate it. Well, my name is Shaun Jardine. I describe myself as a recovering lawyer. I was admitted into this noble legal profession in 1986. And for my sins, I was a litigation lawyer. I became the CEO of a top 250 law firm in the UK.
Wow.
And I'd always hated the billable hour. I was good at it. Litigation lawyers are generally good at timesheets and filling them in. And I got into value-based pricing in 2017 when a friend of mine, an Australian called John Chisholm, suggested that I go out to Texas and Dallas, Texas, and there the god of value-based pricing, Ron Baker, was holding a 4 or 5 day conference, and I attended that. And there were lawyers from all over the world there: Australia, New Zealand, Canada. I was the only Brit. I was the only Brit in the room.
Wow.
And it was, I then, met so many really, really interesting people, kept in touch with all of them. I had to do, everybody there had to do a 3-minute session on something that would benefit a room full of lawyers, which was really interesting. So as I do, I dressed up as a penguin and waved a copy of John Cotter's book, Our Iceberg is Melting, which is a change management book that I'm a great fan of. And I was doing a change management project at the time, saying, this is a great book for lawyers. Read this, understand the story of the penguins. And I then got back to my firm. And in the end, I managed to do a project which was rolling out value-based pricing with a couple of three legal teams.
Wow.
And I kind of, as I was the former CEO at that stage, I was able to say, you're all part of the pilot. We did this, it worked. And then when I retired from the practice, I thought, actually, I really enjoyed doing this. How can I reverse engineer what I did in my own law firm and make it into a methodology that others can follow? Well, and then I thought, well, I'll just copy John Cotter's eight-step plan. Mm-hmm. Made my 8P point plan, which, in the book, which I know you've read, you'll know that I unashamedly am ripping off John Cotter's ideas there, or implementing his ideas. And then just wanted to make a process that people could follow, because I read many years ago, 2-3 years ago, I read a paper from an artificial intelligence law provider, who interviewed lots of lawyers who said, we don't like the billable hour, but it's too hard to do anything about it. And that was really my spur. That's what spurred me into actually doing something and, writing the book. People told me I ought to write a book about it. I'd done consulting with law firms, and, now, having worked with lots of law firms all over the world, I can tell you all our problems are exactly the same. Doesn't matter what your size is, doesn't matter what your geographic location is, the problems are all the same.
So that is, you said it rightly. I'd already ordered your book, obviously, when we invited you, and when I got the chance to read it, I spent the odd weekend on it, thoroughly enjoying it, and a big part of your book is actually the process of implementing it. I didn't really know what to expect. If you write Ditch the Billable Hour on a book, I'm already, a fan. And I found it so interesting that you really start so much at the beginning, where we always say you have to start with the people and the processes, and you're not going there and telling people how to do the calculations and what tools to implement. So I really had to put that out there, that I really appreciated that. And yeah, it seems to me as well that there is a big crowd in Australia, and we've already had a previous episode on value-based pricing with Eleni Maas. But from your point of view, for you, what is for you value pricing? We talk about it. If our listeners don't know, what is value pricing to you?
Okay, value pricing is nothing more than an expansion of a joke. And I can see you thinking, hey, hang on, This isn't in the book. What's he on about? And if I tell you the joke, where a machine, a factory grinds to a halt. No, there is no production. Let's say it's a car factory. There is no production in this car factory. And the crucial machinery doesn't work. Production has ground to a halt. No one can fix the machine. So what they did, they got the old engineer out of the village. Got the old engineer out of the village, who came up to the factory, put his ear against the machine. And then out of his toolbox, he got a little hammer. And then he tapped the machine sprung into life, and production started. And he rendered a bill for £1,000. And the managing director said, "This is ridiculous. I want a breakdown of this bill." And the old engineer gave him a breakdown of the bill, which was cost of hammer, £2. Knowing where to tap, £998. And that's the gag, okay? What value-based pricing is, knowing where to tap. It's the value that we as lawyers bring to the situation. Now, I've been telling that as what does value-based pricing mean to you? And I say, it's this old engineer gag. Someone in Australia pulled me up on that, and they said, "Shaun, that isn't a gag." I said, "What?" They said, "No, that's a true story." And what is amazing for today is that true story. The old engineer was a mathematician and industrialist called Charles Steinmetz, who was born in what was Germany, in Breslau, now part of Poland, I understand. Mm-hmm. But he and that was a true story. He went to America. The factory that ground to the halt was Ford Motor Company. And he spent 2 days in the factory listening. It had ground to a halt. He was listening to the machinery, and he was able to tell the engineers, it wasn't quite a hammer job. He said to the engineers, put a chalk mark on a machine that said the coils, the electronic coils, and those in there under this plate, they've gone. You need to replace them, and it'll work. And they did, and it did. They replaced them, and it worked. And he sent a bill, and Henry Ford said, "I want a breakdown of it." And it was, that's the mark that he actually said, it was knowing where to put the chalk mark was worth the value. And I encourage anybody to read his Wikipedia page because it is absolutely fascinating. But I was so delighted to be hauled up by one of my penguins, and it's a guy called Charles Proteus Steinmetz. And if you look him up on Wikipedia, the story is absolutely amazing. It'll give you goosebumps.
Oh, that is good. I also only ever thought it was a joke. I mean, I'd heard it before, and it's one of those things you kind of chuckle about, and we kind of joke about it, but really, it is one of those things that we joke about until we have to change it, or until we're trying to change it. But how did it then go for you? So you told us, you implemented value pricing for other people first. So how did it work for you? What were your personal challenges to go from a billable hour to value pricing? They can't have been easy, even though.
When I was rolling out the pilot, I was able to choose the right pioneer penguins to become part of the the team. And these were, people that I knew were proactive, people that I knew would engage with the process. Some of the initial challenges were people who said, "Oh, it'll never work. It'll never work," and standing further back. But they weren't part of the pilot anyway. Then what happened was, within their teams, they could see that, for letter before actions on boundary disputes and property disputes, we started charging up to £2,000 for something that ordinarily we had previously been doing for £200. And one of my former partners was saying, "Well, I don't know how you're getting this. How are you getting this?" Because I was passing the work on to her to do, because she was really good at this area of law. She said, "I don't know how you're getting this." I said, "I'm getting it because I'm asking for it. And I'm pointing, people making inquiries to the website, and where you've written lots of articles about this, and you are known as an expert in this area of law. So that's why people want to pay. They're not paying me to do it. I was just acting as the pricer, taking the initial inquiries and handing them on." Now, that former partner of mine is now very evangelical when it comes to value-based pricing, and she attends all my training and all of that kind of stuff. And we keep in touch, and she really loves it. But actually, she needed to see it happen and know that it could happen, and then say, "Okay, you've proved to me the concept, now I'll do it." And that's, lawyers are pretty much like that. We are naturally conservative, we're argumentative, we pay attention to the detail, we believe that change should happen to those around us, not necessarily ourselves. We don't like change. And, this former partner of mine fell into all of those categories. But once we could actually show the path and how it could be done, and that clients weren't running away screaming, that she actually embraced it radically. And that's the battle that people implementing value-based pricing will have to overcome. Is not the theory, is not the practice. That you can read that, you can follow that. Hopefully, you think there's method in my madness, and the logic it can stack up. The battle is always the hearts and minds of the people in your organization, and encouraging them to change.
Yes, that's also something that we face a lot. I mean, I think it was in one of your courses, Michael.
A long time ago.
A long time ago. When talking about automation, you get like, why would I automate that if I can charge €200 for my associate for it?
Yeah.
Yes,
and that's so deeply
the problem.
Ingrained.
Well, of course, Gen AI at the moment is brought these problems right to the forefront of our minds, because again, if Gen AI is now doing things in minutes that it used to take us hours to do, are we going to charge just for the minutes, or are we going to look at a new model of pricing? And the answer is, we're going to have to look at a new model of pricing, because you can't say, "I'll just charge you for the 6 minutes." And I know what I did speak to one law firm who thought that's what they should do, just charge the 6 minutes, so they try and go and get more work. Well, that's not going to stack up. Another law firm said, "Well, we'll just treat Gen AI as a fee earner and give it an hourly rate." Well, what hourly rate do you give something that is, so capable of doing things very quickly? What are you going to say? The hourly rate is £5,000 an hour, so that I can then charge you for the 6 minutes and make a good return? Other people were saying, "Well, it's all wrong, it's all rubbish, it'll never work. So even if it takes 10 minutes to do something, we'll just spend 5 hours checking it, so it'll work out the same." And other firms were saying, "Well, okay, let's look at other ways that we can charge for our legal services and not have them linked to time." And those are the firms that I think are going to prosper and benefit and embrace the technology and still be around in 10 years' time.
Yeah, I was having a coffee last week with CEO of, let's say, that kind of company where probably every law firm in Austria would give an arm and a leg to represent. And obviously I was having around, he's like, he doesn't like the billable hour either, because he doesn't want to pay basically per word, because then a lot of lawyers feel like they have to fill it with lots and lots of word stuffing. And he's like, yeah, if you've copied and pasted the template, then I'm not gonna pay for the whole contract. And I was like, no, that's wrong as well. And then I challenged him and said, you're paying for the value of the contract. How and where I get it from should not matter. So that's still something that we're challenging there, but we're having these discussions, and there's a lot of pushback when you go in with radical ideas. And obviously if I run around and say things like that, it's the other end of a maybe painful journey. But is there something where you say these are maybe areas of law, these are types of lawyers? Are there situations where value pricing doesn't work, in your opinion?
I think if your model, where if you take, for example, in the UK, we have a publicly funded system called legal aid. Mm-hmm. So the government is the person that will effectively pay the legal bills. And there it is time-based. So you have to submit timesheets, you have to do that. And so you're very good. Lawyers who do legal aid work are very, very good at time recording, and they will not miss any minutes, because they have it, drummed into them as soon as they start in the profession that you've got to get your time down. Those kind of firms, or that kind of business model, it's going to be, value pricing isn't going to work because this is how the contract has been set up. Now, law firms going forward, even if you've got clients at the moment who say, well, I want to pay by the billable hour, and there aren't many, but sometimes there are clients who will say, no, I only want to pay by the hour. Fine, well, sooner or later, you're going to have to decide, do you want to carry on doing that work?
Yeah, I've got one where, big corporation, and there's like really a procurement department who's like, in our procurement systems, lawyers have to have an hourly rate next to their name, basically. And I'm like, yeah, whatever.
But thing is that the legal aid, I think we can compare it here in Austria to our it's so-called Verfahrenshilfe, so where you get assigned to by the bar, but you are not directly paid, but it goes in the pension fund, so to say, and there we also have to record time. But I also have the thing, because I work as a criminal lawyer and a criminal defense lawyer, more to say. Criminal lawyer sounds not about right as I'm speaking.
Not quite.
Not quite, yeah. I'm a master of the dark arts, so to say, defender of the dark arts. Anyway, I now have, especially since the COVID pandemic, I have more and more people who are have a problem with the hourly rates and just want the fixed price, so to say. And I'm currently also trying to establish the value pricing more and more in my law firm. It's a hard way, but I think I can make it work.
I'm just bringing in all those cool people to break Michael. Yeah, it's really my way of teaching him.
So you're like the second one to actually design to break me. So that's the operation. That's the thing all along. No, but I'm really interested. As we did the last episode with Elani Masa, I was really interested also in the thing that I'm really looking forward to. I would like to say finish your book, but I've yet to read it because I had a lot of work to do. But I'm really looking forward to it because I think it's the future, and also even for one small lawyer, a single attorney as myself, I think I can be I could have a competitive advantage over other lawyers, because especially when it comes to lawyers here in Austria, like litigation lawyers, they also, I got my billable hours and that's the end of it, and I don't think that's the end of it. I'm just thinking it's like a bit of a problematic and backward thinking, so to say.
Well, I think that, every lawyer can have a competitive advantage against other lawyers that stick to the billable hour, because if you're if your unique selling point, your point of differentiation is, we will never present you with a bill that you've not previously agreed. That's quite powerful, because lots of people are frightened of lawyers and the billable hour. And
I know.
People don't laugh at lawyer jokes because they're funny. They laugh at lawyer jokes because they think they're true.
Yeah,
And that's not funny when you're a lawyer. And it comes up to that where I believe that we can create tiered services for anything, even criminal work, where we would say, look, here are some options. Here are 3 options about the work level. In all of these options, you are going to get a service that is competent. We will get you obviously in criminal law you can't guarantee a result, but I will deliver a service that is competent. How that service, the nuances and the way that service is delivered could be much different if we have a gold, silver, bronze service. And that's where lawyers have to start thinking creatively about what they can and cannot offer. But once you get into the methodology of challenging what is possible, then you will start creating ideas. And as Katharina knows, the book talks about possibility thinking, which I'm a great fan of. And you will find, because I'm sure that you and your colleagues, or just anyone in your own family, when you decide to sit down and do something about possibility thinking, what options can we come up with that would differentiate your service? And the answer is you will find some. Yeah. And then you present those to your clients. And there's one story in the book where I worked with a lady who was a lawyer in a Magic Circle firm, a big London firm. She went out on her own, so she's a sole practitioner now. And she is doing software as a service contracts. And these are very boring, tedious contracts. Apologies to any technical lawyers out there who do software as a service.
I feel a bit offended, but it's okay. Go on. I know how the story ends.
I totally agree with you that they are boring.
I love SaaS contracts.
I know. Katharina does them very well, and I like prison. She likes software as a service.
I like having a contract for every problem.
Well, I must confess, you might want to edit this out, but you're the only person who sent me the login details with contractual terms at the end of it. That
was just a Creative Commons license and some privacy information.
I know, but I thought this is definitely the nerds of law that I'm getting involved with here, because it's got all this stuff at the end, but all power to your elbow. Anyway, back to my story. This lovely lawyer she had doing these contracts. A client tracked her down from her old firm to a new firm. I said, I need a contract. She said, well, yeah, I can do this for you. I can do it for £2,000. And the guy said, I don't want to pay quite that much. And she said, okay, I'll do it for £1,800. She discounted it by 10% immediately. And we went through this possibility thinking exercise of things she could add to her software as a service contracts. And at the end of it, it was a Zoom call we had. She had her head in her hand. She said, Shaun, I needed you yesterday. I said, why? Why do you? She said, if we had had all of these options yesterday when I spoke to this guy, I could have charged him much more money. I said, well, what did you used to charge at your old law firm for this? She said, I would have charged about £10,000. And she said, I could have charged this guy £15,000 for what we're now offering, what we've added to the menu of services. And she said he would have gone for it. And all that is doing is adding layers and features that you can add to any legal service. And then your clients will decide what is valuable to them, what is of value to them. But the trouble is our clients don't know because we don't tell them. And so that's part of our job. Let's tell them what's available. They might not want it.
I can only say amen to that, because that's what I'm currently thinking about, like a menu of legal services, like you have, well, this is my basic thing, and do you want fries with it, so to say. Yeah, I always say, well, what why do I like to go to like McDonald's or Burger King? Because they have options.
Yeah.
What I challenged, and that was, I think it was, I think first also in Ron Baker's book Time's Up, I think, when I first read about at least the idea of having different tiers. So, I've already spent a lot of time, coming up with products and stuff like that, but more like, okay, do I need this clause or this clause or this clause? It wasn't really kind of like stackable. And I was really struggling with the idea at first. And when we first talked, you and I challenged you on it, because one of the things that I was struggling with is how can I pull that together to have a tier system where it's like, okay, you get a silver package, you get a gold package, you get a platinum package, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
But if you've got this, like, say, basic package, the lowest cost one, how can I do that and still, be in accord with my liability, be in accord with all the rules and regulations of our job? So I always felt like this is then going to be the, pound store kind of legal service. So how do you do that? So in my head, I couldn't really figure out where to start, because I always felt like I always have to give my client all the information. So that was in my head, because otherwise I'm liable to them. So how do you get out of that not in the brain? If our listeners are now like, how's this going to work?
Okay, so look, if we take a contracts, for example, okay, and what we want to do is we want to deliver a contract to a client for a price, and we're going to start off where we are going to have, let's take it as a SaaS contract or whatever, it can be anything you like. We will have, yes, I will deliver you a contract. I'm going to take instructions from you. So now the way we take instructions is one of the variables. It could be, I want you to actually write down everything that you, the client, tell me everything about your business. Tell me what you want the contract for, why you want it. I've got a pro forma questionnaire. I will send that to you. You fill it in to me, send it back. Or I will send you a smart link to a website. It will prompt you to answer the questions, fill it in, send it back. Or I will take instructions over a Zoom call. Or actually, I will come to your office and take instructions from you, and you can have other members of the firm there that might be necessary. So the way I take instructions can be varied. It can then be, I will prepare a first draft of a contract, which you're going to do. And in our cheapest option, it was I'm going to prepare a first draft of a contract. And within this bronze service price, I will allow you 2 revisions. So you think about it, you read it, we will have a conversation. I'm only going to revise it twice if you go for the bronze option. If you've gone for the gold option, I'll revise it as many times as you want. We can keep going through it until you're happy with it. But that gold one will be, we will dot every I, we will cross every T. I will explain every single, word of it to you if necessary. That's what you get on the gold one. And how we can think about the variables are access to talent within our organization. Now, Mikhail might say, well, it's only me. I'm a sole practitioner, right? It's always me. Okay, well, it might be always you in terms of representing your client in the town where you operate. But actually, if you've been done for speeding 300 miles away, I will arrange for you to be represented, but I'll arrange for you to be represented by a local lawyer acting as my agent. And you can get that for the bronze price. But if you want me to go 300-mile round trip, I will do that for you, but I will charge you more. And what we have to do is get into the mindset of we don't know what our clients value. And what we need to do is start having these conversations, because some people will say, Mikhail, I want you to represent me because you represented other members of my family, or you've represented my friends. I know you are really, really good at what you do. and I am prepared to pay for that. And many, many years ago, when I started out my career, I actually started out doing criminal law as well. And when we had drink driving legislation coming in the 80s, and we had something called the Lion Intoximeter, which is the machine that would take breath samples and confirm whether you were over the limit. And I had a client, I started getting a reputation as doing these cases and doing them well and getting people acquitted and finding areas that we could challenge in the courts. And I had one person come to me once, and he told me about his case. And I said to him, I think your chances of successfully defending this case are less than 0.1%. He said, that's good enough for me, and paid me a lot of money. Now, what he wanted me to do actually was go through the process so that it bought him time, so that he could sort out what his life was going to be like when he duly did get disqualified from driving. But he needed to sort out his business, etc., and things like that to make sure that he could keep going. And people are prepared to pay for talent. They're prepared to have to, you know, if you've got a bet the farm type legal job on, they're going to say, well, I want that person to do that for me. I want that. In the UK, we have King's Counsel barristers who are very specialist in niche areas of law. I want that person to work for me. And let's just start charging, because if people are recommended to us because we are good lawyers, and they're saying, I'm coming to you because I'm recommended, they are not shopping around. They are not ringing around. And I think we need to start believing, a bit like the L'Oreal ads, that we are worth it. We are really worth this. And if clients have got 4 options: do nothing, do it themselves, instruct you, or instruct a competitor. And if they've picked up the phone and talking to you, they've discounted 2 of those options: do nothing and do it themselves. They're gone. They're out the window. The options are now: do I instruct you or do I instruct your competitor? So we've got it down to two options there. And then if we give clients options, and this is where maths comes into it, in my view, if I give you an hourly rate and it's take it or leave it, it's a 50-50. You're either going to sign up to me and you're going to charge £360 an hour, whatever it is, or you're going to leave it. If I give you 3 options, price options, bronze, silver, gold, or leave it, I've got a 75% chance that you might take one of the 3 options, or you might leave it. It goes from a 50-50 to a 75-25. So by me creating options, I've got a better chance of getting the work. And I've even got a better chance because the client is going to choose the service level that they want and the price point that they want to pay. Because sometimes they'll only want, in the same way we go out for dinner, a bottle of the house wine to do fine. That'll do great on a Tuesday night. If it's my 50th wedding anniversary, I'm not going to get away with a bottle of the house wine. Okay, and that's where we need to start thinking about.
And that's actually a great point. And I've read somewhere, I think in pricing psychology, that then the people would go for the middle option, maybe not the premium one, but then also not the cheapest one. And you've already, so from what I learned from you when we first talked, and what I also wanted to bring across to our listeners, that you basically start with your normal service. Maybe, make it more efficient, maybe make it more, technologically automated, from the more automated contract to the do-it-yourself artisanal contract. I'm telling you, this is going to be a thing. But and then just add on to it. What else could you provide? And then maybe think about the next steps. So what I wanted to do, because in my head, I'm running through the ideas and I'm getting longer and longer lists of options I could do. But I find it's a bit challenging for Michael or for me to see options in Michael's line of work. What I would like to do is, or what I would like to try is, could you maybe help us or help Michael have a just like a little brainstorming session. How would you start off with your clients to create a product, to create a gold version of a product? How would that look like? Could we just maybe try it out or something like that?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, okay.
Michel, you're up.
Right, but this is a scenario, okay? First of all, if we are, I'm going to need you to, hang on, I'm going to just set my timer on my iPhone. God knows how you're going to get this into an edit. But anyway, let me just set my, Mikhail, I'm going to set a timer for 45 seconds, okay?
Okay.
And you're going to have 45 seconds of my time, which is going to cost you £10,000. No, of course it's not.
Okay.
We have a look there. We're going to do 45 seconds.
I thought you read the legalese at the bottom of my invite.
So now the question, right? The possibility question that we're going to write on our pieces of paper is, how can I possibly get home from work today? Okay, and we write that out. That's our possibility thinking. We're turning a problem, how can I get home from work today, into a possibility thinking question. How can I possibly do it? And it's not logically, how am I going to do it? How could I possibly get home from work today? And what we're going to do, we're going to start the timer in a second, and all of us going to write for 45 seconds, how can we possibly get home from work today, starting from now.
And yes, dear listeners, you're going to have to listen to 45 seconds of random music whilst I'm just going to let the 45 seconds run, and then I'm pasting some music in. I hope one of the options isn't going to be calling me up driving 250 kilometers to drive him home.
That's a nice one.
Right, we've got 16 seconds left.
Yeah, I've already got 4 options.
I've already got about 15. You've got to do better.
Whoa. Okay.
Okay.
So, thumbs up.
How many have you got, Mikhail?
Yeah, I've thought about 4 currently.
Okay, I've got 15. So, all right,
Not bad.
you shout out your 4. I will cross them off, and then we'll go through what I've got left.
Okay. So, how to get home from work today? That was the question.
Yeah. How can I possibly get home from work? Okay.
How can I possibly? Yeah, I went from myself. So I got by bus, by foot, by car, or not at all because I'm doing home office.
Okay. And those are all perfectly logical, where you just thought, yeah, these are the probable ones how I could get home from work. Okay, yeah. So you've got bus, foot, or car. Okay.
Yeah.
So I've got car, taxi, run, walk, hop, skip, jump, on the back of an elephant, a scooter, a camel. I can get somebody to give me a piggyback. I can call Katharina. I can go in a canoe. I can go in a hot air balloon. I can go in a space hopper, or I can do roller skates. Now, the vast majority of
valid
those
answered.
that you'll think, oh well, they're not likely, but actually, some of them are probable. Now, I do this when I do conferences and go into law firms and stuff, and we do it for 2 minutes.
Okay.
And usually you could get 50 answers. And I did this a couple of months ago at one law firm, and somebody came up with an answer I'd never had before. And it was, I'd ring my mum. And I said, well, why? I said, he said, I don't drive. My mum always has to come and pick me up. Now, you then think, well, that's a really logical answer, actually. And it's not one that is on your list, and it's not one that I actually put on my list in that amount of time. So this is the concept with possibility thinking, right? Now we're going to do it. What is the possible question is, what can Mikhail offer his clients in a gold level service.
So I'm going to join you now.
Okay.
Are we going to start again?
Yeah, we're going to start again. We're going to do it 45. So what are the features of a gold level service? It's going to be harder, but we've got to be thinking outside the box a bit. Let's write everything that pops into our head. We've got 45 seconds starting from now.
Dear listeners, you have to join again. Okay.
Right, let's turn that off. How many have you got, Mikhail?
6 so far.
I've got 6 too.
Well,
We'll see how they match.
I've got 10.
Whoa.
All right. Now, Mikhail, let's have your 6.
okay. So if in criminal, as a criminal defendant, I can offer the following gold services. Like, I can call your mom and explain to her. I can call your employer and explain to him. I can bring you closest into jail. I can I can provide you with a telephone number where you can call me 24/7. I can do regular meetings with you, and I can give you written informational statements.
Okay. All good stuff. Yeah, all right. Katharina, what have you got on top of those? Have you got any additional ones?
Well, they're a bit different. I've got unlimited calls and emails. Because I know that's something that Michael mentioned in the last time, calls and support for family, so that he'll take their calls and answer their calls as well. Then I added a comic story of the trial. Then, because we're talking about picking up, that the client's going to get picked up for trial, so Michael's going to pick him up and drive him to trial. Then
Oh, cool.
I also added outfit advice, so not just bringing him the clothes, but also and the last one, a mock trial.
All right, okay. All right. I've got speed, as in how quickly we're going to respond to you. You know, it might be that you get arrested on a Friday, you might be in custody, and there's nothing we can do about that till Monday anyway. But it might be that you're very worried over the weekend, and I will see you on a weekend if you pay me enough money. So I will see you out of office hours, etc., etc. So the speed that I will respond to you is one of those things. The method of delivery, again, am I going to use technology, chatbots, portals, of the ways of gathering information? And I know that some AI companies at the moment are generating AI-generated paralegals. You know, it's a bit of software that will collect information. I will come round to your home. I will take instructions at your home, or I will obviously come to, if you're in custody, I will come and take instructions in custody, possibly. That is my gold level service. I'm going to come to the prison for gold. If I can do it remotely or via the telephone, that might be my bronze service. So how am I going to do that? It might be that I have and I explored this once upon a time, actually, pre-COVID, where it was thinking about a portable office, where in a converted van, where I have an office. I will come to you. I will come to a place of work and do all the witness statements.
I thought about it actually when I started.
Yeah.
I will have a catalogue of expert witnesses. You're getting access to all of my expert witnesses. So we might need accident reconstructions. We might need drone footage of the scene of the crime or the scene of the accident or wherever it might be. And then the times of which this service is going to be delivered. Is it going to be a 24/7 service? If you're one of my gold customers and you're paying my gold rate, yeah, fine, you can ring me at 3 a.m. I will come out. one of the last visits I ever went to a police station, I was called out of a black tie dinner. I turned up at the police station wearing a black tie because one of my clients was actually in custody. And, you know, the police was thinking I'd put on a special effort for him, and it wasn't that at all. But, you know, so now that in 45 seconds, we've probably come up with, I don't know, 8 or 9 things that we could explore. Now, if you carry on doing this and do it with your friends and indeed clients, ask clients what they would be valuable to them, you can come up with ideas that you can then develop. Once we've got a list of 15, 20 gold options, we strip out of that 5 and it becomes us you know, it becomes less of an option is a silver option, then strip out of that again, and that becomes our bronze option. So that we can start saying to clients, yeah, I'm more than happy to help you with your case here. Here are 3 price points. Which one do you want? And they might turn around, you might be thinking, oh, they're always going to go for the bronze. And then all of a sudden, people start paying gold because they want, and the way you present your options is important. You always present on your left-hand side of the page your gold feature list first, because people read left to right. They will read that list of gold options and think, wow, this is brilliant. They read the silver one and go, oh, okay, that's not quite as good. And then they're going to read the bronze one and think, oh, okay, it's a bit rubbish. And then they're going to think about their situation. What should I do? But just carry on playing with possibility thinking, because honestly, I love doing it. It's great fun. But then we could start actually thinking about, I've never even considered the clothes that you would take. Never even considered it. And I'm an old lawyer. But there will be loads and loads of things that we could actually add to a gold feature.
Yeah, thing is, I have a small story for that. Maybe Katharina sure heard it.
You never had to bring me clothes. You're talking rubbish.
Sorry. That's another one. No, things
that
like,
story, Michael.
Oh, sorry. No, things from the clothes, because the thing is where I got some of my ideas from, like bringing people clothes and things like that. It's actually when the grandmother of my wife died. The family was quite emotional about it, understandably. And I told myself, well, Michael, this is your chance. This is where you can prove you organized the funeral. This is your chance to prove why they let you marry one of their daughters. And then I went to the funeral office with my mother-in-law, and she was down to tears, understandably. And they gave her a list, like, okay, which music do you want? Which clothes do you want to bring? And in this moment, I was really focused on the funeral, but I thought, well, that's brilliant, because people are in the same emotional state when they come to me, and a dear person of them has been imprisoned. And then afterwards, when the funeral was done, I even called the funeral office, said, well, it was a very good service, and by the way, I would like to have this checklist. Because it's brilliant. It's brilliant.
But when you explain it that way, it's so logical. And when you think if somebody's in custody, they've been kept in custody over the weekend, they're going to get produced before a magistrate court for a bail application, and they might be wearing what they've been in for 48 hours. But if you're saying, well, I'm going to turn up at court and I'm going to meet you with the client in the cells beforehand, but here I bought you, a suit to wear or something that makes you look half decent.
Yeah.
Of course, that is a brilliant idea. The trouble is now we've told the whole world and everyone's going to do it. But or rather,
that's the value add that people get when they listen to our podcast.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, and you'll know because you've got to the end of the book, Katharina, one of the things about value-based pricing is, I say that it is a challenge. You have to plan, you have to prepare to do this. It is a change management program, and lawyers should be pleased about that, because the vast majority of law firms won't do it. And then if you do it, then all of a sudden you've got that competitive, and it's that You
Yeah.
know that, Mikhail. You know, you're thinking. Well, both of you, you're thinking in the right way, and so therefore you will have that competitive advantage.
Plus, you never run out of ideas. I think it was I'm doing a design thinking course, and they said like out of every like 4,000 just absolutely crazy ideas, then maybe 4 might make it to market. But you need that train your creative muscle, your, as you say, possibility thinking muscle to just go out there and put silly ideas, to dare to put ideas out there that might be a bit crazy. Like you're probably not going to get an elephant to Michael's hometown, but it just opens up that first step to greater things, to other things, and from there you get to the next one. And so there's a lot of like design thinking process behind it, and I just love it. And I've got that moment where you just go down a mental rabbit hole of what you could do. And yeah, some things might be crazy, might be silly, and it's like, okay, is there something in there of that crazy part that's actually a viable option? Or what's the need you're trying to fulfill?
And the other thing is that you only can go forward. It's as simple as that. You can only go forward. It's what I keep telling me, which I learned some time ago.
So we've learned so much from Shaun, and we even did a little interactive workshop. So please, dear listeners, if you want to send in your ideas, your possibilities for your law firm to info@nerdsoflaw.com, or post them on social media underneath the posts for this episode. We'd be very, very excited to see what you can come up with. And what obviously we want to know now is, what tools are you working with? So we did all the transformation, we did the brainstorming.
Hello.
So what's for you, Shaun, are the tools, the software, the hardware you work with? What can't you live without?
Sorry, you went. I kind of lost the link for a second there. Sorry, was the question what software, what hardware?
Yeah,
yes, the last
software
one.
and hardware. Yeah.
Oh, okay. The software I can't live without at the moment. It's probably ChatGPT. I enjoy playing with that quite a lot. I also have something called the Value-Based Pricing Colony, VBP Colony, which is on a platform called Mighty Networks, an American product where you download this online community, you have it as an app on your phone. And I'm quite excited about playing with the VBP Colony. We've got 196 members in it at the moment, where we've got all kinds of lovely materials for value-based pricing, and anyone can be a member. So please join me in the colony. So those are the two bits of software that I like playing with the most. In terms of hardware, I do have quite I have a large Dell computer, but it's one of these integral things that looks like a big smart screen television, and I quite like that. I treated myself to one of those when I retired, because I thought I'd be spending a lot of time in front of a screen, so I might as well get a nice good one. So that's the bit of kit I probably like the most. And I can't, and I have to have a mouse. I cannot be twiddling around with my fingers on pads and things like that. So no, a wireless mouse, I'm afraid, at my age, is essential.
So, Michael, any more questions for you, or are you just like deep in your notepad coming up with ideas and not even listening to us anymore?
No, I was listening, but I'm also deep in my notepad. As I also have one last question, and it is, as always, Gandalf or Dumbledore?
Oh, Gandalf or Dumbledore? I think Dumbledore.
Okay.
Because do I have to explain why Dumbledore?
Only if you want to.
I would just say it's probably because it's more fun. It just seems more fun, and there's more going on, and So yeah, I would just think Dumbledore. Yeah. Bigger community. Back to the community, really.
That sounds about right. Oh, Shaun, It was fantastic talking to you on the record this time. Terms and conditions apply, of course. But where can our listeners, so if our listeners like, okay, I want to do this, but I don't want to do it alone, I'm going to need help along the way, they can just call you up, ask you for help, come to you for support.
Look, absolutely. Look, I as you can probably tell, I'm pretty passionate about this as a subject. I really, really enjoy it. I love people asking me questions, because if you're asking me a question I don't know the answer, then that's really good, because I've got something else to actually research and continue developing. So if I'm on LinkedIn, please contact me on LinkedIn. That's probably the easiest place to find me. Or if you just put into Google Big Yellow Penguin, there's not many people that have their business called Big Yellow Penguin. So please come along and find me there. Alternatively, as I say, you can join the value-based pricing colony via my website. It's just a tab on the website. Join the colony. There's loads of really interesting people in there, including law firms who are already doing this. I've got I'm doing an event on the 21st of May, and there's a litigation lawyer from Hong Kong coming to this to tell us how it works in his practice.
Oh, very
so
cool.
I'm bringing together all the people who are doing this, and I'm learning from them as they are learning from me and the whole community. So
yes,
come on in. The water's lovely. Bit chilly near the iceberg, but the water's lovely.
Well, thank you so much, Shaun. Dear listeners, until the next time, and happy possibility thinking. Danke, dass ihr beim Nerds of Law Podcast zugehört habt. Auf unserer Webseite nerdsoflaw.com könnt ihr das Impressum, Datenschutzinformationen und viele spannendere Dinge finden. Dieser Podcast ist durch eine Creative Commons by Non-Commercial 4.0 International License geschützt. Das bedeutet, ihr dürft den Podcast kopieren, mit Freunden teilen, mit der Information, wo der Podcast herkommt, und ihn nicht für kommerzielle Zwecke verwenden. Das Urheberrecht für die Musik liegt bei Mick Bourdet. Ihr findet seine Webseite unter mickbourdet.com. Live long and prosper. Eure Nerds of Law.